Minister, those due back to work after maternity leave are being told that they cannot avail of the wage subsidy scheme because they are not on the payroll in January and February of this year. This is even though they are technically still employees, as they haven't received their P45. By law, women on maternity leave cannot be discriminated against in the workplace. Yet this, in fact, is what is now happening through the wage subsidy scheme for women due to return to work since the lockdown was introduced. This anomaly would also affect people who are on an illness benefit or on unpaid leave, including parental leave for caring for a sick child. In cases like this, the Revenue Commissioners have advised employers to either operate the scheme by ignoring those on maternity leave in January and February of 2020, or else pay the employee the appropriate wages without receiving the subsidy refund under the wage subsidy scheme. So in such instances, employers are footing the bill for staff wages where they have been forced to close their doors of the business under government instruction. Minister, I accept that you are in a difficult position with regard to the anomalies within the wage subsidy scheme, because you have no legal mechanism to change it without a new government and without a new Seanad. I welcome your comments earlier that you are currently engaging with the Revenue Commissioners to see how you can address this unintended anomaly. If it is the case that you don't have the legal mechanism to correct this law, would you extend the current maternity leave provision for up to 3 months to overcome this anomaly? And also in light of the fact that as childcare facilities are closed, parents do not have childcare options if they need to return to employment where that employment cannot be done from home. Minister, we have a bizarre situation where the semi-state company Bord na Móna is availing of the wage subsidy scheme for some of its employees, while using the pandemic unemployment payment for other employees. And at the same time, some of the staff receiving these government supports are waiting for the company to approve their voluntary redundancy applications. Not only does this action go against the spirit and primary intention behind the emergency COVID legislation, but Minister, can you explain to me why the taxpayer is paying people who are unemployed just because the company won't decide on their voluntary redundancy application?
Thank you, Deputy, for raising those points. As I said earlier on, you've acknowledged the work that is underway in relation to the maternity issue that has arisen because of the implementation of the wage subsidy scheme. And I am examining at the moment, Deputy, if we can resolve that. I mentioned to Deputy Murphy earlier on that my preference would be to do this through the administration of tax law rather than having to look at other policies that might need to be changed. Because in my experience, once you get into changing other areas of policy, that of itself creates issues that then may slow down the resolution of the matter that you're referring to. In relation to Bord na Móna and where that stands at the moment, I can't comment because I don't have the individual information in relation to semi-states, every semi-state at the moment, in relation to the issue that you've referred to there, Deputy. But I will ask for a briefing on the matter and see if I can give you some information or an answer to the question that you're raising.
Minister, I thank you for your reply in relation to both issues, and particularly in relation to the Bord na Móna issue. I'll give you a copy of a letter that I gave to An Taoiseach on the 28th of April last, specifically in relation to this issue. I've been promised by An Taoiseach that I'll get a response to it on a number of occasions since, and I haven't. But this is causing huge frustration, and there's absolutely no justification for public monies that are being borrowed at the moment to be used to subsidise and pay the wages of staff when those staff themselves have been waiting for months for a decision on their voluntary redundancy application. Minister, I want to turn to our national economic recovery and the huge opportunity we have to involve our 241 credit unions with assets of over 18 billion euro in assisting with cash flow and credit facilities for our local small and medium-sized businesses, those who are the main employers in this country, particularly outside our cities. Fundamental to this is the need for statutory recognition by the Central Bank that credit unions are not-for-profit, community-based and volunteer-led organisations. The Central Bank seems to have forgotten the fact that many parts of rural Ireland, the credit union is the only open, accessible financial service in the community. Credit unions are not the same as banks, and they should not be treated the same by the regulator. But in fact, presently credit unions are being discriminated against. The Irish League of Credit Unions has sought the type of assistance and flexibility being provided to the mainstream banks by the Central Bank to help the credit unions through the COVID-19 crisis. But to date, no flexibility has been shown to the credit union movement. Minister, the reality is that many of the customers that use credit unions are not wanted by the big banks. If these families cannot get access to loans in times of financial pressure, then they are forced into the hands of loan sharks, and that's in nobody's interest. So, Minister, will you direct the Central Bank to deal equitably with the credit unions? And will you commit to amending the primary legislation in this area to clearly reflect the unique community nature of our credit union movement?
Thank you, Deputy. I've had 2 meetings over the last number of weeks with the representatives and leaders of the different credit union movements here in Ireland, which I have found very helpful, and I plan to have another one of those meetings actually in the coming week or so. And I have heard from them some of the concerns that you've raised, Deputy. As you'll appreciate, some of the issues that they're referring to are regulatory matters, and they're not decisions that I am the decision maker in. They're decisions that are made by the Central Bank of Ireland. But I have passed on to the Central Bank some of the issues that have been raised. I know there's been further communication with the Central Bank, from the Central Bank, with the credit union movement since the last meeting that I had, and I'm going to meet the credit union movement again, have a discussion about where they stand and see where these different issues are. I cannot intervene in many of the issues that they are raising, but I do appreciate the really valuable role our credit unions are playing at the moment. And the fact is, as Deputy Naughten has said, and he's right in this, that they support many citizens at the moment who otherwise would not be supported by our banks. And I value the work that they're doing, and I'm going to try to recognise that in the period ahead in terms of my engagement with them, and if there are things that they can ask for that I can actually do, looking at those requests carefully.
Minister, can I thank you for your positive reply in relation to the role that the credit union movement can play. But can I bring you back to the question I've asked regarding amending the primary legislation in this area? And the reason that I bring that to the floor of the House here, Minister, is I believe there is a fundamental problem with the culture within the Irish Central Bank. Because when it comes to any type of draconian measure, the credit union movement is considered the same as big financial institutions in this country. However, when it comes to giving a break to the financial institutions in this country, credit unions are treated very differently, as we are now seeing in practice in terms of COVID-19. So there is blatant discrimination on both sides in relation to the credit union movement, and the Irish Central Bank needs to make up its mind here. I believe that the credit union movement needs to be treated uniquely, and the only way that that can happen is if that's clearly reflected in primary legislation, so that a different balanced approach is taken to the regulation of the credit union movement in this country.
Respectfully, I'm not in a position to give the commitment that the Deputy wants in relation to changing primary legislation. I'll have to see what he is looking for first. I'm sure he'll share that with me. But I do believe the legislation that we have in place regarding how our credit union sector is regulated is very proportionate and fair. In terms of the comment that he's made about the culture of the Central Bank, I have to firmly disagree with him on that point. The Central Bank of Ireland do recognise the really valuable role that our credit union movement do play, do look to treat them in a way that is fair and different from the established financial services here in Ireland. But I know there are issues that need to be, that are always being looked at between those who are regulated and the regulator. But in my experience of dealing with the Central Bank, they do value the contribution that the credit union makes to our country.
Thank you. Legislation last November, Minister.
Thank you, Minister.